Oh, hello. Hello. We are now live, as it seems is the nation, on a Thursday evening at 6 o'clock. Good evening, everybody. Hello. Hi, Chris. There's my lovely Jonathan. Hi, guys. Welcome to Thursday evening. And let me get Jonathan. Where are you? Jonathan, try again. I think I might have lost you. But hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday evening. It is the mental health session with Jonathan Hoban, the psychotherapist. Those of you who tune in regularly know that Jonathan and I are friends and colleagues and have worked together over the years. Jonathan's written a book all about mental health and staying on top of your mental health. And we've been doing these weekly sessions to help people through this very, very tricky time of lockdown. And I shall be talking about a personal experience in a moment. Let me just, I might have to log on and log off again to get Jonathan back. No, there we go. Jonathan Hoban requests there. Go live with you. I should have you now, Mr. J. Hello. Hi, Julie. Hello.
Hello.
There he is.
Oh, heartwarming moment every time.
I thought I was going to have to do all of this on my own again for a moment.
No.
No. He's there, the J-Meister. So everybody is logging on as we speak, Mr. Hoban. Thursday night is a busy night, actually, on Instagram.
What's that about? Thursday night is the new Friday night, right?
Yeah, and I think it's quite a popular night for people to do podcasts as well, and to do the live thing. But obviously, we've cornered the market when it comes to mental health, you and I.
Absolutely. Of course we have.
Of course. So we record these sessions as well, and then we pop them up on the outdoorguide.co.uk, and we pop them up on www.jonathanhoban.com.co.uk. Can't remember which one it is. Yes, one of those.
.com.
jonathanhoban.com as well. So you can access these sessions whenever you want, because we try and cover topical issues that we know are of the now and things that people are thinking about and discussing and going through. And obviously, Jonathan, you are seeing clients and talking to them a lot, so you really know, you can judge the mood of the nation, and you know what stuff people are going through. So we're going to kick off, and hopefully not a self-indulgent way. I don't want anybody to think that this is self-indulgent, but I posted earlier in the week, a few days ago now, I posted a little film from me, because I had that moment that Jonathan and I have been talking about in every session and every week, where everything got on top of me. Lockdown just kind of hit me, and I started to sort of traverse, my mind went wandering, and I was thinking about my elderly parents and when am I going to see them again, and worried about them and friends, and basically going a bit stir crazy as well. Haven't properly left the house and had interaction that I would normally have, work stuff. Haven't been doing any of my normal stuff for 10 weeks now. And it just hit me, and it came about with an iron. I was trying to iron something and the iron wouldn't work, and I just lost my marbles, and I started crying, and then I could stop crying. And it was a couple of hours after that episode that I decided to do a post, which has gone pretty much viral, and hundreds of thousands of people over on Twitter have watched it. And I have to say, Jonathan, mostly the response has been incredibly positive. We'll talk about that. First of all, people saying thank you for showing me your emotions and sort of validating me to be able to feel that way. So thank you for doing that. And it's good to see that people like you, who seem to be positive all the time, also have these days. So I'm really glad that I did it, and I'm sorry that I worried some people, including my mother, who went, "Are you all right?" I was like, "Yes, I'm fine, Mum." It was a day, and it was a moment that I felt was important to share. But most people, Jonathan, will be feeling this right now, and will be having regular days like that.
Absolutely.
Or it's just coming up. And back to our very first session where I said, it's okay, isn't it? It's all right for us to do this, to let it all out.
Of course it is. And I think what was so wonderful, watching when you posted, when you put yourself, put your feelings out there, you gave everyone permission to then come back and open up about their feelings. And it really brings it back, to the point that I know, although it's hard, to sometimes put ourselves out there in that way. I certainly find it hard. I know a lot of my clients do. But I think when we're able to take the risk and to be able to do that, just how it gives other people the identification and the license to be able to go, I feel exactly the same way. And also by you doing that, Julie, it makes it okay. It's okay to feel this way, you know, and it does change from week to week, doesn't it? And it can just build up. And it's very hard to stay on top of your feelings all the time, you know, even if you're kind of emotionally aware. There's only a certain amount of feelings and emotions we can deal with at any one time, when we also have to, you know, go through and do life. You know, so there are things that we put to one side. And of course, there is that trigger moment, you know, where it's like, in your case, an iron, where it suddenly goes, boom.
Yeah.
Why is the iron not working? But then often what I find is, if there's a moment of frustration and anger can push down and block a lot of feelings. So normally that's the feeling that can come first. But nevertheless, of course, I think by opening up, it gives people the license to talk about their feelings also, and takes away the shame and lets everyone know that it's okay.
And you and I are similar in as much as we're drivers. We like to be busy. We like to be doing. That's sort of, it makes us feel better about ourselves to do that. Yeah. And it's a good way of managing your feelings. But as you say, it will catch up with you. You can only do that for so long. You can only tread water for so long. And anybody, however you deal with life, however you deal with your emotions and your problems, that mechanism isn't going to be forever. And at some stage, it has to explode. It has to blow.
It does. Well, you mentioned the word driver. You know, we're both drivers. You know, and I think my initial impulse is it's interesting to see some clients of mine and some people I see around, you know, in my community or outside world with friends. Some will sort of hide their feelings completely and just stay with their regular routine. I drive. I need projects. I need tasks. I need to do this. I need to feel that I have a sense of purpose. I need to feel useful. It's just what I do. And I've had this all of my life, and I call it a gladiatorial complex. I fight, and then I crash. Absolutely crash. And at that moment, everything again sort of completely sort of comes up. I mean, I do it because it gives me a sense of purpose, but it also gives me a sense of control. Yeah. And the minute I tend to lose control of something, or something goes a bit pear-shaped, it highlights and mirrors everything else in my life that is also out of control. And it brings it up to the surface. Yeah. So for me, have I ever been able to stop that in my life? No. Is it something I need to be aware of? For sure. And I've been very lucky in terms of, I've had some friends that I've spoken to every evening just to make that connection with. Not so much as a check-in, just random chat. But once in a while, you know, say, how are you doing? I'm fine. How are you? And it's been very balanced in the give and take of those conversations. It's not all been I. But I think even light conversation, even if it's a bit of humor, it keeps that channel open to then, you know, for us to dive in and say, actually, do you know what? I'm not okay. And I think the conversations that might be light or humorous, and people say, I don't want to hear that right now. Just engage with it, because it helps build trust in the relationship for a time that when you do need to talk, that trust is there. You feel safe to then open up about other things that you may be experiencing at that time.
So this could be a really good time, whilst we're all in this lockdown situation, to really build on those friendships, because as you said, you can grow those friendships in a way that you've never done before, because we've never all been in this position before, and you can really sort of like solidify those bonds and friendships.
Yeah, for me, it's about who's in your community. It brings back the value of community. It brings back who's going to be in my tribe. I always used to choose the wrong audience. I would choose the person who was going to least listen to me, and then go, why are they not listening? You know. So for me, I've got my tribe. I've got my community. And it does bring me back. I mean, I don't go historically, but when I was living in South Hills, my next door neighbour had gone through World War II. And she was very much in my tribe. But again, she reminded me of the value, how important community was, especially during that time. And here we are again in different circumstances, but that reliance on community. We've heard the stories before, but now we're in the middle of it, you know, and we're figuring out. Yeah, sorry.
And this is the story that we can't control. Although we can control all of our other bits and our interaction within that story, we can't control the bigger picture.
We can't, but we can control talking about our feelings. We can control certain things in our life. we can't control emotions coming up sometimes, but that's okay. I think it can be quite frightening when it happens, and we can think, oh my God, am I losing it? But I think always have faith that, you know, if you allow yourself to have a bit of an outpouring once in a while, you will come through the other side. And I think a lot of it as well, you know, a lot of this has been down to shock. You know, the shock is, we've been through an initial shock, and that shock is starting to subside. And as the shock subsides, we get our feelings back, and we can be standing there. I've noticed a lot of people this week, both on social and just generally around, there seems to be this air of disbelief. Has this really happened? And I think the surreal has very quickly become real.
And how a lot of us are using social media. What's the tone that you're picking up out there right now? And do you think it's always healthy? Because I find it a very useful tool, and I interact quite a lot with my followers and stuff on social media. Yeah. But I dip in and dip out, and I wouldn't. It's not essential to my everyday survival. Yeah. It's something that I do, and I enjoy it, because generally I can post things that are useful or information or something just funny. There's, you know, the mum dancing, the bad mum dancing and stuff. Yeah. But sometimes I think it can get quite angry out there, and you just want to say to people, no, just turn off. Just you don't need this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think as we said, all feelings can come when things get real. Things come up all at once, you know. And I think people are getting tired. They're getting distressed. I think, not getting political, but I think people are getting very irritated what's happening in that realm. As always, that's been a massive trigger this week, hasn't it? I mean, huge. Yeah. I think the teacher issue, there's been a massive issue around that. People have responded, and everyone is entitled to their response. Everyone is entitled to that anger. But I think also with communities that I've been looking online, it's very easy to incite more anger. It doesn't stabilize. And if you don't take accountability for your feelings, and if you project them into communities, if you project them onto someone else, you don't actually ever get rid of your anger. You just recycle it, because you're not able to pinpoint, why am I angry? And also, we've been through, this is kind of very similar to a process of grief. No one's actually, well, we'll talk about that in another session, but I think there's a lot of, in that shock and, like, you know, coming out of shock, there can be that, we come through sadness, we come through the denial, and we get angry, and we're entitled to be angry. But I think it's learning how to manage it in the appropriate way. And I think it's very important. But we can, once again, have control of the community, both online and around us, with friends, with family, who we choose to engage with, who will help us feel more settled during this time, and who will aggress us and actually, in the long run, make us feel worse, and the situation appear around us to be far worse. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's just said their life according to nature. She's what he or she is watching in. She says the inciting anger is what's grating against society. You've got all these keyboard warriors, and they need an outlet, but it's not real, is it? And it's actually quite damaging.
It is. Keyboard warriors. I love that. I copyright that one, because that's brilliant. Yes, absolutely. I love that one. Of course it is. I mean, I think with anything, I think everything, it's great. I used to love debating, you know, and I think the art of debating and the art of communicating is to put your point of view crossed, but keep it balanced as well. Yeah. But I think, again, it's the same with anything, isn't it? I think if we take account, we just generally around, I think out there, we've said it before, I'll say it again. We need to be very aware of who we project our anger onto, and also who wants to hear that. Again, I think we need to work together as a community, online as well, to create just a more understanding, empathic environment. We can sort of have our anger, but not really. It's the incitement of it. It's really grouping everyone together and making things worse. And I think when we do that, we also create splits and we create sides. And actually what we do is we divide a community. It doesn't bring us together.
It's like a lot of, there's some people out there who are just prodding, aren't they? And they're picking on an issue, sticking it out there, shoving it in people's faces, and then everyone's, oh yes, I feel that way as well. And then you get this big, like, angry babble of people on there that isn't doing any of us any good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it does. It creates gangs, doesn't it? Essentially, or gangs of people rallying around, you know, sort of just being angry. And at the end of the day, you'll just end up feeling very, very stressed, very upset, more anxious. And where's it got you?
Scapegoating was something we wanted to talk about today.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, that's exactly what it is, isn't it? Sorry. So scapegoating is when we put the blame onto someone else. It's like a dumping ground, isn't it? We dump all of our feelings onto someone else, and we channel. It's either one point of focus, one person, a situation, and we say they're going to get it. Yeah. And I think it's a case of, I mean, this can happen in families. This can happen in society. And I think, again, you can see this happen in schools with teenage bullying as well. Someone's often scapegoated, and all of the unwanted feelings are basically channeled in and onto other people.
What can we do now? Choose not to get involved, obviously. Step away from it. How can we sort of reground ourselves now that we're a couple of months into this whole situation? What are some techniques and tools that we can use to help ourselves get through it all now?
Yeah, there's a bit of delay there. So essentially, actually, I thought a good exercise for this is actually one that I'm using this week, is how we get in touch with the wise part of ourselves. So I call it an alter ego exercise, because I think also there's the wise part in us that can be the most grounding part of us. We can't sort of necessarily access it that easily, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. So what I do is, you may notice I talk very fast. Yeah, it's the Irish in me, and just go ba 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 ba, you know. So one thing, so when I was speaking sort of more in public, I would choose Morgan Freeman, because when Morgan talks, he slows everything down, you know, and it calms everything down as well. So essentially what I say is, imagine you're in a room, and then choose who your alter ego wants to be. Who could you sort of, who inspires you? Who's a powerful figure? This can be fictional or non-fictional. So choose what person that you want. And then imagine they walk into a room, you're in a room, have a cup of tea if you want. I imagine a cup of tea and a piece of cake, you know, whatever. They
what
sit
kind of
down, anything you want.
Battenberg, lemon drizzle.
Absolutely, yeah. Just even get a takeout, have a burger, you know, absolutely. So sit down. They come and you sit down, you introduce yourself. Yeah, how are you doing? Absolutely. Have a bit of chit chat. Don't try and sort of think about what they're going to say. Very much allow them to sort of come in, you know. Don't try and control the conversation. And then put the question to them. What do I need? I need this at this time. What do I do? And you can choose any subject of any kind and hear what they have to say. Sit back and then listen to what it is they have to say. Yeah. And then once you've taken that information, think about how you can then sort of put that into your life. Yeah, and sort of integrate that into your life. And you can do this with lots of different things across the board. And I do this when I'm feeling at a loss, or I can't trust this, or this is just too clouded, or just too heavy, or there's just too much in there. And I don't know which way to turn. Friends and family aren't giving me the answers that I need. I do this exercise because, again, it connects us with our intuition. And I think, again, at this time, you know, it's imperative that we are guided by our intuition as well, not relying so much on what other people are telling us to do, what we feel that we need to do for ourselves during this time.
Wise words. Okay, let's see what some people have been saying here. It's either C Andrew or C Andrew 54. I've unfollowed lots of people on social media, and I have time off, and it's getting far too negative, and it does great on you. Yes, I mean, I think we can all absolutely agree with that. I'm stressed and angry. Oh gosh, no, I didn't want to do that. I'm stressed and angry. I lost my job, and now I'm stressing as there's not a lot out there at the moment. That's a very common situation right now, isn't it? What do people do? I mean, obviously, you know, we can't give you sort of job advice here, but there are obviously a lot of people. I mean, we hear every single day of new industries that are letting thousands of people go.
Yeah.
And there's this realization that this pandemic is going to lead to obviously a dip, whether it becomes a major. I don't like to talk about recessions, because I think the more you talk about them, then the more possible and real that they become. But
Sure.
we're obviously businesses have already taken this hit, so there is going to be lots of change around. How do you set your mind for that uncertainty?
Well, you can't really, can you? But you can't run away from your fear. That's the most important thing. I think if you try and sort of just remove yourself from fear and say that's not happening, your anxiety will get worse, because your anxiety is saying there is a real danger here. There's a real threat. And the way that we overcome anxiety is by surviving our anxiety. I think a lot of the time, you know, we need to think of anger as an energy. If we don't release that energy, this stops working. It stops working. And we get into the fight, flight, or freeze mechanisms, which we've spoken about before. We can't think strategically. We can't think of a way out. And we need to keep this working in adversity. We can't control if people make us redundant. We can't control any of that. So if we first and foremostly focus on managing your stress, focus on channeling out your anger. People have been sublimating in all different ways since lockdowns actually happened. I have to say, I walk and I love doing power walks. I miss doing personal training. I do. If Steve's watching, hi Steve, miss you. You know, I really do, because I love punching a bag. I do. I love it. But also, I went out running. You know, I went out running in the night. Fantastic at night, because it feels like you're going faster. Put on the cult, which I loved, and sort of with, you know, different artists that I love, and I just ran. And all of a sudden this anger just took over, and it was just, I was getting rid of it. And so if we think about that anger as a driving force, diesel, fuel, if it's too much, it explodes. You need to learn how to manage it. But if we get rid of that anger, we can start thinking strategically. We get the endorphins, we can start planning. And I think with all of us, it does put us in a position of what are we going to do next? Life will punch us. It will hit us down. But we need to get up and we need to keep moving forward all the time. And I think we need to figure out how we keep on moving forward, in what way. And if it gets stuck in one part of our life, figure out something else that you can do just to give you that feeling of I'm moving forward. Even if it's not the big task, give yourself some smaller tasks where you have a quick win, a shorter win, rather than the big project you think of, God, this is going to take months. The little wins can give you that confidence, hope, and esteem that you really do need to feel during a situation like this. Good words. Pixie says she's writing music every day. That's very therapeutic and a wonderful thing to do. We love that. You've been doing a bit of singing recently, haven't you? Do you want to share that with us? Oh yes, that was for a friend of mine, Luke Bunny. It was my first ever band, and it was I can't remember the name of it, but he was feeling very down. He'd come off a tour. I'm going to name drop here, but he's been out with Brian Farron. He came off tour, and you've got that adrenaline crash, and it was he'd been a bit unwell. And there was the whole situation with pandemic. He just felt down, and his niece and nephew were playing the ELO song. Help me out here. Bright. What's it called? Blue Sky. Mr. Blue Sky. Yes. So his niece and nephew were playing it, and he decided, let's record this to bring a smile to everyone's faces and raise a bit of money for the NHS. So he asked all of us, old lot, to come in just to kind of with the kids. And do you know what? It was a blast, and it was so much fun. But again, it took us away from the heaviness of what was going on. It brought that little bit of light, fun, you know, and it gave us something tangibly that we could actually do. You know, I feel that we were being of service in some kind. It was great. I'm going to end on something we didn't really touch on this earlier, because we always try and sort of have a preamble chat so we know which markers we're going to hit along the way. But I know that you've got a lot of friends who work for the NHS and with a frontline at the NHS. Let me put myself in the position of being a frontline NHS worker right now. I'm a client. I'm sitting in front of you. I work for the NHS. I'm seeing horrible things every day. Yeah. I'm dealing with stress and trauma every day. I'm feeling a little bit let down, but in certain areas as well. This is weeks and weeks and weeks now that the people are into this. How do you cope with that? It's really tough, Julia, for people we're talking about people in the NHS. Yeah. It's really tough. I mean, I had burnout 3 times for a very good reason. You know, it's very hard not to get political. But when this all started, the funding was never there. It's not been there for years. You know, the resources aren't there. You know, people don't feel supported. We all want to do our job, but you need the resources there.
Yeah.
The advice that I do have, because I've been doing some sessions and providing from free sessions for those working in the NHS at the minute. And, you know, I know it's hard, but you have to take those breaks. You have to say to your manager, I need a week off. The hard thing is when you're in a caring profession, you think when you're in that state of burnout, you think, if I leave, it's all going to fall apart. That person is going to take on my workload. You know, I can't do that to them. I can't let them down. But the thing is, if you stay, you're going to make a mistake. And that is going to come, unfortunately, that's going to come on you. So you have to make these very difficult decisions. I always say, I can't trust that. I have to trust and focus on what I need to do as a healthcare professional. I need to take a break. And by taking a break for a week, you can just get yourself back to a state of a little bit of reset. Normally it takes burnout about 4 weeks to have a proper reset. But at least in that time, you can think about, just get some self-care within those 4 weeks and come back. And then it's almost like tag. You need to look at it like in, what's it with the baton, the relay.
It's the relay.
I've gone off, now there's the relay, you have a bit of time off, you know? And ultimately, I think it's, if you've got a good manager, they will, which I had, I was very lucky to have a very good manager. She said, lunch break now, you know, you're looking burnt out, you need some time off. And actually, when I came up from burnout, I said, back at you. You know, so we do work together. That's part of working together as a team. Yeah, and that's what I would advise. And walking is great. It helps.
Yeah, we've got that. So somebody who've got Pete here is saying the countryside or green space, even if it's a tiny garden or a window box, it is so good for your mental health. Yes, that's something that we reiterate and say time and time again on here. Right, Jonathan,
walking in nature for me was the best for burnout. Sitting by a river, sitting by a stream, get rid of tech. Don't get you're already overstimulated. Don't get overstimulated further by looking at tech, looking at TV. Get out, have a walk, lie down on the grass, touch the grass, look at the sky. You know, it works. It really does.
So says the walking therapist, Jonathan Hoban. Jonathan's book is out now, and this session will be up on the outdoorguide.co.uk along with 4 others, the 5 others that we've done already. I've lost count of how many we've done now. But lots of good chats like this. 5, there we go. Wow. So we shall say goodbye for now. This has been the lockdown session, or the lockdown sessions, whichever way you want to call it. He's Jonathan Hoban, psychotherapist. I'm Julia Bradbury, and we shall see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.